Without further ado, and with full command of this room, we have Benton, Hydra, myself less so, but really Benton and Hydra on stage. I wanted to leave, I know that folks want to also spend some time with each other tonight, so let's do about 10 minutes here of a Q&A with folks in the room, and then we'll wrap it around 9:10 for this section. But any questions for our incredible student alumnus speaker, Benton, and our incredible keynote speaker, Hydra Mendoza? Oh, I see a hand up in the room, sir. Thank you.
First of all, thank you both for what you shared. It was so incredibly inspiring, such a gift. I have a question for each of you. It's a flip of each. I think first for you, Hydra, you've accomplished so much and been incredibly successful, but I'm curious what you today would have told you 25 years ago and why. And then for Benton, it's the flip. You know, you're pretty early. What do you hope you can tell yourself in 10 years from now, and why?
I have this conversation with myself often. You know, I moved out of my house when I was 17 years old. Not because I had to. I wanted to because my dad was in the military. I spent 28 years traveling my entire life all over the place. When I got to San Francisco, I was like, I'm not leaving. And he was retiring, and he was moving to Washington State, and I was in high school, but I had a part-time job, and I was on my way to Cal, and I was just like, I'm not leaving. You got to go without me. And he's like, no, you got to come with us. You're only 17 years old. Like that switch hadn't been flipped yet. And I said, I'm not going. My boss is letting me move into his apartment because he's getting married, and he's, and this was legit, except that I had to go to my boss to say, what are you going to do with your apartment now that you're getting married? And so he paid $200 a month. This was a serious 2-bedroom apartment on 5th and Clement. 2-bedroom with a garage. He rented it to me for $400. I rented the 2nd bedroom for $350. So this is how it starts, right? And so what I would have probably told myself back then is to slow it down. Let some things just be. Because I was always like, that can't wait. This has got to happen. I mean, my poor husband knows this is how I function all the time. This is, no, if we don't do it now, then I don't know if we're going to have another opportunity. Slow it down, take a few breaths, and then give it a little bit of time to kind of do its thing. Because I think I made some things that would have happened differently had I taken a step back. Be more enriching to me as a young person. But instead, I was like, too far ahead. I got to go do this. And that's what I think I would have told myself. Thank you for asking that question, because I have not answered it until now. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's also my first time answering this question. So, yeah, I don't have anything specific. I guess in 10 years, I hope I can tell myself that I made the most out of my position, out of the privilege that I've gained over the years in this position to be back in the city that I grew up in. I would want to look back on, I guess tonight would be the 10 years ago for 10 years from now, but I would want to look back and think that this was the start of some 10-year journey that I wouldn't want. I guess because I don't exactly know how the 10 years would go, I would take each step, sort of optimize each step that I take in terms of maximizing my impact and maximizing how I utilize my strengths and my skill sets. So I hope to, every single year, every step that I take is in some optimized direction. And I think that I mean, first, I just kind of wanted to say I was so humbled to hear your story, your description of how adults making decisions, sometimes they don't think about who they're really impacting. They don't think about the students that really get it at the end of a long decision process. So I'm also hoping that in the next 10 years, I talk to more and more mentors, people like you and Irene, who can give me the best advice on what to do. So I want to look back and say that I did the most out of what I could in my position, and I made an impact that I'm proud of.
Those who want to line up and talk with Benton and Hydra, please, get ready, get yourselves ready, because unfortunately we only have time for one more question from the group. But again, please find time to find them if you have questions, you want to get to know them. They're the loveliest, smartest, most incredible people. One more question from the group for tonight, and we'll close the Q&A section. Oh yes, please, sir.
Looking to Minds Matter 5 years, 10 years into the future, especially, Benton, because you've now been both a mentee and a mentor, and you've seen the organization evolve over the years, what ideas do you have for taking Minds Matter to the next level? What do you hope it is in the next decade?
Yeah, I'll answer this first, and I actually want, both of you, I included, Irene included, because she is the, in terms of ideas, I think expansion is probably, it's something that we are doing, and it's something I completely am on board with. Our resources in our volunteers, in our community, and the Bay Area is such a large region, and there's so much to tap into in the Bay Area that when in the past 10 years or so, when we've just been in San Francisco, there's a lot of people out there that we can help. It just takes the time to build the infrastructure. It takes the time to find the people to do it, but it's definitely there. It's definitely possible. So that's something that I look forward most to. And I think also that when I was graduating in 2016, our class was pretty small. The program was pretty small. We've grown a lot, but as the years go by, there's a longer history of Minds Matter in the Bay Area. So every year there are more and more alumni who come back to volunteer in some capacity. I'm not the only one. There are other people from my class, and then there are other people from other mentees from later classes that also come back to volunteer. So I think another thing we want to tap into is our alumni, because our alumni has that perspective of giving the feedback of what it was like to go through the program. That's something that's pretty unique. And the longer that our org exists in the area, the more alumni we'll have. So I think that is also a very valuable and unique resource that we can tap into looking forward.
Gosh, it's really hard to follow that. Thank you, Benton, for the blueprint of what our organization should be in the next decade. I will take that. We will work on it. Look, I've always been of the belief that breadth, so however big you grow as an organization, as a movement, is a product of having tremendous depth. You earn it because you can truly point to the people that you've impacted, and you can say, listen to their story. And if we can do more of that, that would be powerful. And so for me, I'll be honest, we didn't get to this conversation around like growing to serve more students because we were like, let's just do more. More is more. I don't always think more is more. I think you have to earn your way to more because you truly believe that the impact that you've had at depth has been meaningful enough that you're now at a moment where you can actually take that thing that works so well and have an opportunity to impact other people with that thing that you believe in and that works. And so, we have San Jose obviously represented in the House tonight. Oakland is, a city that we want to continue to explore and think about how we can be of service in this community. But I would actually say the deeper thing that grounds us, no matter what and no matter where, is being able to look to the stories of someone like Benton, years and years and years out from high school graduation and college graduation, right? Is being able to look across our incredible corporate partnerships in the room and say, 2016, 2020, 2025, 2050, right? And it's being able to attract incredible people like Hydra, who years ago we got to meet Eric and have an incredible conversation. Years later, we get to meet Hydra. 3 years from now, both of you on stage at the same time, hopefully. Right? It's being able to say that, like, the depth of these relationships and the evolution we've had the privilege to observe over time, that is the justification for why we exist as an organization, to connect people, to foster these deep connections, to be a hub for this impact to continue in ways that sometimes we can predict and sometimes we don't even want to predict. We don't even want to predict how these relationships can evolve and develop and grow people over time. But as long as that's happening, that depth, then it justifies the breadth at which we are thinking about growing our impact as an org. So there are no numbers I'm quoting tonight. I'm not going to say to you, gosh, in 5 years, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, because I don't think those numbers are meaningful. I think what's meaningful are the stories. It's going to be the stories, the relationships, the people, and the ability to demonstrate that you have had the impact that you have meant to have, and hopefully more, and that justifies doing more and being in more places. That's it.
I think the only thing that I would add is that, we look at, there's certain qualities that you're looking at in your mentor, right? And I'm sorry, in your mentee, in your young person. Like you want them to have that drive, you want them to be, willing and able and thinking about, like, the ambition around that. You also want that in your mentor. And I think that that's really important, and I see, we have, our VTO is, our volunteer time off program is really huge in Salesforce. And, when I talk to the folks that do the volunteering in certain organizations, like the commitment that comes out of that is huge. It's not just because if I, unleash 56 hours, then I can get matching funds for all the organizations. That's a nice thing, but the commitment for
Please
mentors.
do that. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, make sure you get your matching funds. But the commitment has to be on both sides, and I think that you don't want to lose that you really want to, this room full of corporate partners, you guys are already committed to that, and who else? Who else do you want to tap where our young people will actually have a really incredible experience? Mm-hmm. Because, they were similar to them. They look like them. They, whatever the it is. Mm-hmm. But making that, thinking about what the young person really needs and then searching for those great mentors, I think is really important.
Thank you, Hydra, so much, and thank you, Benton. We're going to close the Q&A section tonight, but let that last moment be hopefully an inspiration for all of y'all. I hope this is, we'll see you again next year, obviously, at this event, but we hope to see you before then as a volunteer, as a supporter in some other way, shape, or form. Get inside our community if you aren't already, because we can't wait to meet you, to work with you, to learn from you, and to build with you. Thank you all, and we'll close here. Thank you to Hydra.
Thank you.
Thank you to Benton.
Thank you.